Hello, everybody. Today's topic is a very significant topic for the ISC students, which is the story of an hour. You know that this time the semester system, which is a very fresh model for us, and you see we haven't got any question paper yet, a sample question paper of it yet. So what we will do is the first semester, which is going to be objective type or MCQ questions, which is multiple choice questions. It will be also framed from the story itself, the story of an hour, and the other topics. So we are doing first. I'm explaining the story of an hour with all the symbols and the smaller questions which may come from here. First, let us understand the symbolic significance of words and phrases and clauses, or the total meaning of the full story. It is a very interesting story to see how freedom is, what freedom is, and what it gives to human beings, and why is it so important. This is all about the story of an hour by Kate Chopin. We will read it and understand it and then move on to MCQ questions, which is going to come soon in my next video. I hope you will like it. And if you do like it, please hit the like button and comment if you face any problem. Thank you. Let's begin. So, as we start the new story for class 12s, you will be able to understand how we feel. What are the things that we desire other than just food and sleep and all that. So let us continue reading. Knowing that Mrs. Mallard was afflicted with a heart trouble, that means she had a very sick heart. Okay, that means she had a weak heart. She was diseased and she had trouble with her heart. And great care was taken to break to her as gently as possible the news of her husband's death. So you see, her husband was dead, and a lot of care had to be taken so that very slowly and tenderly she could be informed about her husband's death. You see, somebody who has a sick heart, they may if you give them a sudden news, maybe a good news or a bad news, whatever it is, it can cause a heart attack to them. Okay, so very calmly, soothingly, tenderly the news has to reach the wife. It was her sister Josephine who told her in broken sentences, veiled hints. Veiled hints means with slight hints she started giving her to show that, "Oh, acha, this was the matter. You see, this could not be avoided." And slowly and steadily, the information was passed on to Mrs. Mallard. That revealed in half concealing. So she considered. So she told half the news, and then she covered half, and slowly and steadily the news was passed on. Her husband's friend Richards was there too near her. It was he. That means if there was any emergency, Richards, the friend of Mr. Mallard, the one who has died, he could help the sister to take the wife to the hospital or something. How did the person die? You see, it was Richard who had been in the newspaper's office when intelligence of the railroad disaster was received. So he was at the newspaper office when suddenly he got this news that there was a railroad disaster. There was a rail disaster. Maybe the train was derailed or something, and that disaster caused Brentley Mallard's death. Who is Brentley Mallard? Brentley Mallard is the husband of this woman who has a weak heart, and his name was leading the list of killed. All those people who were killed, you see, there was a big list of names of the people who were killed during the railroad disaster. So all the names had come out, and the first name over there was Mr. Mallard's name, that is Brentley Mallard's name. He had only taken the time to assure himself of its truth by a second telegram, and had hastened to forestall. Forestall means to prevent any less careful, less tender friend in bearing the sad message. So he did not want that maybe from somewhere else Mrs. Mallard got the news, and that may be breaking her heart. So she wanted to give the news, so he wanted to bring the news as fast as possible to Mrs. Mallard. And so he called her sister and asked her to give the information to the wife. She did not hear the story, as many women have heard the same, with a paralyzed inability to accept its significance. So you see, with the paralyzed inability, that there are few women, when they hear about the death of their husband, they are like paralyzed. They cannot accept the news. How is this even possible that my husband is dead? They will not be able to accept it. Paralyzed, unable to move even. Okay, but this woman, she wept at once with sudden wild abandonment. So she wept a lot and lot and lot. And when the storm of grief had spent itself, she went away to her room alone. When everything was calm and quiet, when she could control herself after a lot of crying, she now goes into her room all alone. Okay.
She would have no one follow her, so she did not allow anybody to follow her, and she went inside the room all alone. There stood facing the open window a comfortable, roomy armchair. Into this she sank, pressed down by a physical exhaustion that haunted her body and seemed to reach into her soul. So now you see the picture just beside the writing. You see the sofa, and over there, just beside it, there was a window. So I did not get. You see the armchair, a picture of a big armchair beside a window. That relevant picture I did not get for you. But you can get an idea over here that there was this armchair, and and she sank inside the armchair like so calmly and so comfortably. And what was just in front of her, there was a window. And you see what was and Acha, first, the most important thing is, now as we are in class 11 and 12, we have to know that everything that is happening in this story, there is obviously a symbolic significance of all of it. And most importantly in this story, you see comfortable roomy armchair. She sat near an open window, and that is offering something more wide and open. Okay, and where she is sitting in a very comfortable and spacious armchair, which is a very comfortable place and very soothing, very cozy place to sit in. Okay, and what happens next? She could see. I'll tell you what is the symbolic significance of these words. She could see in the open square. Square means just outside the window. The square of the window outside, it was an open window. She saw what? Before her house, the tops of trees that were all aquiver with the new spring life. Aquiver with the new spring life. Just the picture outside. See the picture that I have given to you beside. You see everything, everywhere. It was spring season. Okay, spring means just after the drastic, extremely cold winter, you get the spring season when everything is blooming. When the little small leaves are coming out of the trees after a prolonged winter, and you see the birds, you see the clear skies, and such a beautiful atmosphere it is outside. The delicious breath of rain was in the air. So now you see rain also cleanses you, isn't it? After a very hot summer, if you get a lot of rains, you feel that you are cleansed, all the dirt and dust is wiped out from your body, isn't it? So rain. In the street below, a peddler was crying his wares. So a peddler, the people who scream that mere paas ye hai, mere paas wo hai, those people were passing. The notes of a distant song which someone was singing reached her faintly. So a distant song, this is important, from a far away, maybe a Hindi song is being played, or a Bengali song is being played, or an English song is being played somewhere near your house. But the song does not reach your ear very clearly. Okay, it's just bits and pieces of the song reaching your ear. You try to recollect. Achha, वो क्या गाना है, वो क्या, what is the song that is playing. You try to listen it carefully. Just like that, it is a distant song being played far away, and softly it is reaching Mrs. Mallard's ears, faintly. And there were also countless sparrows twittering in the evening. So you see sparrows are also making a beautiful noise outside, and it is a very happy environment outside. What is eaves? Eaves are the roof hanging over walls. They make their nests over there. There were patches of blue sky showing here and there through the clouds that had met and piled one above the other in the west facing her window. So you see what is happening? There is patches of blue sky. Just look at the picture beside. You see patches of blue sky has come up here and there. So slowly the sky is clearing. The darker clouds are being wiped out, and from bits and pieces you see the clear sky again. She sat with her head thrown back upon the cushion of the chair, quite motionless, except when a sob came up into her throat and shook her, as a child who had cried itself to sleep continues to sob in its dreams. It seemed that she feels the sorrow like it is the continuation of something. For example, you will see sometimes a baby, maybe he had cried before sleeping, and he continues, sobbing, isn't it? This is sob. He or she, the little baby, continues to do that even in his sleep. Okay, continues to continues sobbing. Okay, so this is quite like a continuation of what you have been doing for a long time. So Mrs. Mallard has been doing something for a long time, and it is just like a continuation that she still feels that sadness in her heart, and she tries to cry out of it. She has continued to be the wife of somebody for a long time, and she has continued for such a long time that even now, when her husband is dead, she feels a kind of sorrow within her, and she starts sobbing. Okay, like a continuation. She was young with a fair, calm face. Sorry. whose lines bespoke repression and even a certain strength. So we could tell from her face, from a calm face, that there are lines. She has now become old. She has lines on her face, wrinkles, that show that she has a kind of strength within her. But now there was a dull stare in her eyes, whose gaze was fixed away off yonder on one of those patches of the blue sky. So now she's just dully looking outside the window where there was the blue sky. She was looking at one portion of that blue sky, just staring dully. Why dull? This word dull is a very important, significant word. You see, dull means when, for example, if I suddenly tell you tomorrow you will be having a 100-mark exam in English. Okay, this will be like a sudden blow on you, isn't it? That it is not that you are planning at this very moment. It's not that you have started thinking that which chapter to do first, then second, then third, then fourth. Not like that. You are just dull. Your brain does not work for some minutes, isn't it? You just cannot understand what has happened to you. Suddenly, tomorrow exam, I have so many chapters to prepare, I don't know where to start, isn't it? This is the dull thing, where your brain has completely stopped functioning for some time. Maybe just for some time, but some time. But rather okay, it was not a glance of reflection, but rather indicated a suspension of intelligence thought. It is not that you are reflecting, you are not thinking that which subject or which chapter to study first, whether Tempest or whether the stories or whether the poems. Tomorrow is a 100 marks exam. Which part to start first? You are not planning this. It is not intelligent thought that you are thinking and you are planning. You are just you are just, it is just a dull stare. You're not even thinking. It's like ab main kya karu, this kind of an idea. So there was something coming to her head. She was waiting for it fearfully. What was it? She did not know. It was too subtle and elusive, difficult to name. Elusive is difficult to name. We cannot. What name do I give it? What is this thought that is coming inside my head? That means this is obviously something very strange that is coming inside her head. But she felt it creeping out of the sky, reaching towards her through the sounds, the scents, the color that filled the air. So you see, from everywhere, from the beautiful sky, from the music that is coming to her ears, from the sounds, the scents, the beautiful scent of the flowers, the green leaves, the fluttering of the leaves, everything was trying to say something to her. Okay, so you understand that the armchair is a space for herself. Now that her husband is dead, she understood that she had started realizing, you see, now I am free. Okay, her brain wants her to realize it. The sky wants her, the blue sky wants her to realize it. The birds that are chirping outside, they want her to realize it. The song that is slowly, that is from distance, it is coming to her. It is trying to make her realize that now you are free. You are not bonded. You are not in a bondage. You are not chained. You can do whatever you want now. You are free. Now her bosom rose and fell tumultuously. That means she is breathing fast. She was beginning to recognize this thing that was approaching to possess her, and she was striving to beat it back with her will. So you see, we have certain like ethics, that certain things that we feel and that we believe that we should do it. Like one thing, women after their marriage, they feel that they are bound to this relationship, and they should not feel very happy when their husband is dead. It is something to be sad of, isn't it? A husband is dead, and how can I feel happy about it? And she tried to push away the thought that was coming into her head, that you are free. Now is the time to enjoy. Okay, with all your freedom, you can do whatever you want. You are not controlled by somebody else. But she did not want to accept it. But how can I think? How can I imagine this thing? How can I even think about this thing? How can I be happy when my husband is dead? But then, when she abandoned herself, a little whispered word escaped her slightly parted lips. She said it over and over under her breath. Free, free, free. The vacant stare and the look of terror that had followed it went from her eyes. So you see, first she was afraid. There was a dull stare now, like what is happening to me. Then slowly it was coming to her brain. You can understand now how slowly it was coming to her. Slowly the blue sky told her, you see, you are free. And then her lips parted and the words came out of her mouth. Yes, she realizes it, body and mind. All over her body and mind, what was happening? She was realizing that she is free. Her pulses beat fast, and the coursing blood warmed and relaxed every inch of her body. When you know you are free, maybe after classes 11, after class 12, you'll be free to, move around, you to go to the parks, to the movies, to the halls, anywhere and everywhere, free. And you'll be so happy. You may be doing a job, a part-time job, or teaching students, and you'll be earning money. You will have a lot of things to do. You'll be free to do all those things. Till now, you might be caged in your house because you are not that responsible maybe, but soon you'll be out after your class 12s, and then you will be free to do anything and everything. Okay, that, imagine that moment of freedom. Freedom is something that we all want, isn't it? Without freedom, what is life? She did not stop to ask if it were or were not a monstrous joy that held her. Is it a monstrous joy? Is it something devilish? Is it bad to think? Is it bad to be happy when your husband is dead? She did not go into these details. She thought a clear and exalted perception enabled her to dismiss the suggestion as trivial. Trivial? Insignificant. Why to think about all this? It is just a free life. Just, open up your arms and just embrace the freedom that's coming to you. Just like this picture. She knew that she would weep again when she saw the kind, tender hands folded in death, the face that had never looked save with love upon her, fixed and grey and dead. But when she saw beyond that bitter moment a long procession of years to come that would belong to her absolutely, and she opened and spread her arms out to them in welcome. So she knows that when the body of her husband will arrive, she will again feel sad and cry because they have been staying together for so long. Obviously, this will make her sad when she sees her dead body, when she sees Mr. Mallard's dead body. But you see, after that, what is there? It is freedom. Just free, go free, isn't it? So she opens her arms to embrace it. There would be no one to live for during those coming years. She would live for herself. There would be nobody to serve. Imagine your mother, your father working for so long, isn't it? They work for the family, for this, for that. And maybe one point of time they understand that, okay, today I'm free. The next few years I'll be free. I can do anything and everything just for myself. I will live for myself, not for anybody else. There would be no powerful will bending hers in that blind persistence with which men and women believe they have a right to impose a private will upon a fellow creature. So few people think that, you see, there is a when people are in a relationship, they try to think that, okay, I will say something to her, she will listen. She will tell something to me and I have to listen. These are the certain things that happens when somebody is in a relation. Okay. And this becomes monotonous, this becomes like a chain soon, isn't it? After some time, maybe initially you'll feel it good that, okay, I'm doing something for her, she's doing something for me, she's not going out to the roads after maybe 8 o'clock at night because of me. But soon you'll realize that with all these things, it is chaining you down, it is, holding you back, it is not letting you be free, and you will want freedom. Okay, a kind intention or a cruel intention made the act seem no less a crime as she looked upon it in that brief moment of illumination. You cannot it can be a kind intention. Maybe your father doesn't allow you to go outside because he feels that it is risky going outside. Okay, you may face certain risks, certain problems when you are outside at night. That may be a kind intention. The father thinks good about you, that's why. The father wants to protect you, that's why. But it can be cruel intention. Maybe I live in a patriarchal world, I live in a world where men always impose certain restrictions on women. That is why they are not allowing women to go outside the house. Okay. So you see, it can be kind intention, it can be cruel intention, whatever it is. But you see, ultimately what happens is your freedom is taken away. So that we do not want. So I think this much is clear. It is very important that this part is clear to you in minute detail, because you see from this part MCQ is going to come. All symbolic significance and everything will be very important, because you'll see MCQ questions, you'll soon get idea about the MCQ questions. I'll bring them for you. You'll understand that the options, the 4 options that you'll get, they're very close to one another. It's not that all the 3 options are anyway they are bad, so you get one option to choose. It's not that. You'll see they're very similar to one another. Okay. So then you'll understand, like you found in crossing the bar, isn't it? In crossing the bar, you saw that there are so many symbols, symbolic significance, one superficial meaning, one deeper meaning. So maybe you are given one word and you are asked to tell which one is the superficial meaning and which one is the deeper meaning. There are 4 hints given, 4 options given, and you are asked to find out the superficial meaning. First, you have to know the meaning of the word superficial. Otherwise, how will you point out which one is the superficial meaning? So it is very important that you learn minute detail. So you read all the lines, hear all the explanation that I am giving, and with the MCQ questions also that's coming next. Tell me if you have any doubt. All right, let's continue. And yet she had loved him sometimes, often she had not. What did it matter? What could love, the unsolved mystery, count for in the face of this possession of self assertion, which she suddenly recognized as the strongest impulse of her being? Now she knows that she's free. Self assertion. Okay, what is love? Love is an unsolved mystery. You see something which is very strange, you don't know why you love somebody. When love happens, it's not from the brain, it's from the heart. So you don't know what is the reason behind you falling in love. But you see, now it is better not think about, we better not think about love. It is better to think about the freedom that I have now got. Free, body and soul free, she kept whispering. She kept enjoying this thing that she is free henceforth. Josephine was kneeling before the closed door with her lips to the keyhole, imploring for admission. Louise, open the door. I beg, open the door. You will make yourself ill. What are you doing, Louise? For heaven's sake, open the door. Go away. I'm not making myself ill. No, she was drinking in the very elixir of life. Elixir means, the God's potion, the God's juice that gives you immortality. It's something like that. She was drinking something that was making her immortal. The feeling of getting freedom, of getting a free life henceforth. It's something like, being immortal. Okay. So she's not trying to die. She's not killing herself. Although her sister keeps on thinking that she might fall ill inside the room. She's all alone in the room. But actually, she was enjoying that moment, being alone, being herself. Her fancy was running riot along those days ahead of her. Spring days, summer days, all sorts of days that would be her own. She breathed a quick prayer that life might be long. It was only yesterday she had thought with a shudder that life might be long. Imagine the difference. Just yesterday she was very afraid. Arey, kitne, so many days are left, and when will I die, and when will I get over this sad and depressing life? But today, now when she's free, she thinks she's wishing to get a long life so that all the years to come she has for herself. She can enjoy those. She arose at length and opened the door to her sister's importunity. So the sister was persistently, knocking the door, knocking. So now she gets up and opens it. There was a feverish triumph in her eyes. She carried herself unwittingly like a goddess of victory. So you see the dull stare in her eyes to becoming the goddess of victory. This journey is just in a very short period of time inside her room, all by herself. She realizes the true meaning of freedom. Okay. Next, Richard stood waiting for them at the bottom. Someone was opening the front door with a latchkey. Latchkey, that means somebody who comes to this house very often. He has the latchkey to open the door by himself. It was Brentley Mallard who entered, a little travel stained, composedly carrying his gripsack, small suitcase, and umbrella. He had been far from the scene of the accident and did not even know that there had been one. He stood amazed at Josephine's piercing cry and Richard's quick motion to screen him from the view of his wife. So everybody wanted, they were amazed that, oh my God, we thought this man was dead and he is alive. He's standing, he's just a travel stain. He's just a little tired, a bit tired. Maybe what had happened is, maybe he was late and he could not catch the train. The train had already left. And he had to, sometimes you have to go by taxi, you have to take some other conveyance to reach your office. And that way he had gone. He had not boarded the train only. The train, he had already booked the ticket and therefore his name was there on the list. But he did not board the train. He was late maybe. He could not catch the train, that's why. And that's why he's alive. And when the doctor came, they said she had died of heart disease, of joy that kills. The irony over here, joy that kills. You see, it is, people felt that suddenly seeing her husband alive, she was so happy that she died. But in reality, what killed her? She realized that her husband is alive. And that full hour when she had imagined the extreme amount of happiness that she's free, okay, that realization, what would she do with that realization now when her husband is not dead, her husband is alive? So even her future years of life or future days of life will be the same. No freedom in her life, but she has already understood the importance and significance and meaning of freedom. How can she now continue to live without that freedom? Okay, so she feels that maybe if I die, my body will no more be there, but my soul will be free. And at least then I'll be free from these daily drudgeries, the life that where there is no freedom, where I'm like a caged bird, isn't it? So it is not the joy. Actually, the irony over here is it is the sadness, it is the sudden sadness that I am denied freedom again. Okay, that killed her. Okay, that dismay killed her. So here we read a very beautiful story, and I think you all have loved it because this is also one of my favorite stories that I've come across. And you see, your book is full of these beautiful stories. So this is one of the best of all, and I hope you will like it, and you have liked it. And if you have any questions, to ask it, and soon I'm coming up with MCQ questions from here. If you have liked it, please give a thumbs up, and if you haven't liked it, then do give a dislike button, hit the dislike button if you do not like it, and also subscribe so that people know about me. And I would be very happy if if I when I get the support, when I hear from you that it is the videos are benefiting you, as you always tell me. I feel very happy from right from my heart, because it gives me a lot of happiness that yes, when I am giving these videos during my school and everything, after my school and everything, it is at least helping you during this time of COVID, isn't it? So that's all. Bye bye.